All right, so welcome to episode 2 of MIPPL podcast. Today's guest is somebody I know from high school that, when I started doing my business, he was one of the few people I knew from high school that was out there doing the grind and trying to make something happen. So my buddy, Clint Laster, how's it going?
Good. How about you, Mike?
Doing pretty good, man. We're just trying to make things happen and doing the grind as usual. New Year, same grind, right?
Yep.
So one thing that's got me really wanting to talk to you was just recently I've been seeing you're hitting the weights and you're really going after physical fitness.
Yeah.
What kind of led to that?
Well, I kind of have been doing it off and on, not consistently in how I should be for the last couple years. But I don't know. I just wanted to start taking my health more serious. Helps me, obviously, just to focus, clear my head. But yeah, over the last 6 to 12 months, I've been taking it a lot more serious as far as even my diet and just more consistently and learning a lot more about properly working out and what I'm doing more, where kind of in the beginning, I think I was doing it, but I wasn't really getting as much results because I wasn't staying consistent, and mainly not the whole diet aspect of it.
Right.
Didn't have that where it was supposed to be. So been taking it more serious and been seeing a lot more results with it, especially over the last 6-8 months.
Now, do you feel like, being like a business owner, obviously you're thinking a lot, you're doing a lot, you're trying to juggle a lot. Do you see the benefits a lot, like mentally there when you're? Oh yeah,
it definitely. I feel like it does as much mentally as it does physically. It helps you definitely clear your mind, and then something. I kind of I was doing it for a little while, trying to do like the early morning workouts,
right.
And that I definitely do like that for the mental part of it, because that it seems like I'm more productive when I do that. Right. It gets your blood pumping, gets you ready to go. I feel like on those type of days, it's I get more done by doing that. And also it could be tough too when if you've been working all day, right, and you're already tired, to really get in there. Feel like you're not putting in the same effort because you're already kind of a little bit tired or burned out from the day.
Consistency is hard too.
Yeah.
It's all if I don't have the mornings, being a dad and having a job and always having something in the evenings that I need to take care of.
Exactly.
I tried the evenings and I liked it. I was able to do it like some winters when I didn't have much going on.
Yeah.
But the consistency just wasn't going to be there unless I did it in the mornings. So I'm the 5 a.m.
Yeah, I wasn't doing that quite that early. I was doing like 6:15 or so in the morning. Right. But yeah, it is nice, and it's usually not that many people in there, where evenings are usually a little bit busy at most gyms. The gym I go to is a little bit more of like a low-key gym, so it's not usually too big. Right now, this is the time when January is the busiest month, but it's not. It's a lot of benefits, I feel like, for in the mornings.
Yeah, I know it's. So Marla recently bought this kind of crazy machine. I told her, we don't really need that. I got some weights, but it's called like a Monster Gym. It's one of those new pieces of equipment that has like a screen and it has resistance.
Oh, yeah.
And, I didn't think it was a good purchase at first, but she also got the row machine with it. I've been itching to get a row machine because
I like the rowing
I feel
machines.
like it's like 70 or 80% of the muscles in your body it hits.
Yeah,
I was just thinking, like, in the mornings, that's what I want to do, be brain dead, put my phone up, put YouTube video on, and just crank. And so I do that for like 6 minutes, or I do 2 rounds for 12 every morning before I even start working out. And I feel like my energy just shot up because I used to not take cardio very serious. And then now I'm introducing serious cardio before my workouts, and the mental clarity and the amount I felt like I could do or juggle in my head just felt like it went way up.
I need to do more with the cardio. I do the rowing machine a lot, and I do bike and I walk a lot. But I don't do too much high intensity cardio, just more of with the weight training and then calisthenics and stuff. But just because I've been trying to put on more size, so I don't do too much of high intensity stuff, but as far as the cardio goes, but I like the rowing machine a lot. And that machine you were talking about with the, I don't know what it's called, but yeah, with the screen and with the resistance on there, that I have been seeing a lot of videos and stuff for those. Those do look cool, pretty cool.
Yeah. There's two. There's like the tonal, which is really expensive, and that one made me nervous because it has to be like mounted on the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't trust any kind of lags I'll put in to any wall in my house to like where I could pull 200 pounds or something, or 150 pounds. But what she got is like it's like a rack, so it's like an L. So there's a platform you're standing on, and then all the weight's on this bar that comes up from the ground. So
that's pretty sweet.
It's kind of self-sustained. So
I don't think I've seen that one specifically, but I've been seeing videos for those. They seem like they're getting popular. I never tried one, but they look pretty cool.
I mean, I feel like it will kind of be the future, even though I like weights, you know. It's kind of the future just because of the customization and the fact that the stuff it can do, like increasing the weight when it looks like it's too easy for you, or like custom training programs that automatically adjust, which I haven't messed with. I kind of have the same weight every time and I adjust it myself. But
what's cool about those too, I've seen you can adjust the different the resistance for like when you're the retraction, when you're bringing it, and so you can get different stuff out of one exercise versus on free weights. You really can't do that on there. But
and I think that was one of the big things was like I went for so long. I have like a Power Tech gym set up in my front porch, which every winter is a problem because I don't want to wake up in the morning and go out in the cold. Like I just bitch out too many mornings. I just don't do it.
It's tough in Michigan,
but
cold weather.
I even got like the full finger gloves for going out there because all the weights are so cold. But I was doing the same movements for so long, not looking up new movements enough. So like I would gain, I felt strong, but when I got that and I was like, not only different movements, but a whole different type of weight. I feel like that was a big thing.
Tricking your muscles to, doing that. So they say it's important to implement new exercises and different movements because, once you do the same thing for so long, you're maintaining what you have, but it's hard to get
I'll tell you, man,
from it.
You are looking bigger, and I don't think it's just a sweater. You're looking. What was your goal? I think your goal was like 200. You're aiming for.
Yeah, I was trying to get to 205, but I'm like one, give or take a little bit, like anywhere between like 188 to like 192, 193. Right. But I mean, 2 years ago I was like 165.
Yeah, we were both
160
skinny fucks. So I remember we were both like, I mean,
most of my adult life, I've been between like 160, 165 pounds. So yeah.
I could never gain anything. I was sitting at 155 for like ever, but I was working out consistently 4 or 5 days a week forever, and I think I'd hit a point where it was like, where I was supposed to get fat. Like I was hitting mid 30s or something, because like I snapped and it was like boom, 15, 20 pounds, and that was also, I felt like my appetite went up, like it was kind of a weird shift there, but.
Well, yeah, people always said that to me about like, it's all about your diet. And I think that was one thing that was always limiting me too in the past was, I was putting in the work in the gym and I was getting progress, but it was like, very limited. And I was having a really hard time of putting on any kind of weight. And then I basically just started doing like force feeding myself where I was just eating, which kind of sucks because sometimes you feel terrible when you're like, you don't even want to eat it, but you're making yourself eat it just to get the calories in. But I started doing that and then basically drinking like 2 protein shakes every day. I would drink 1 in the morning and drink 1 at night, like a mass gainer one. And then trying to make sure to get my calories, I try to keep it around like 32 to 3,500 calories a day. Which with the protein shakes, I was getting, probably 1,000 calories from that alone right there. But that definitely was making a difference. And then also just trying to eat higher protein foods and stuff like that. Like leaner. I don't really eat the fast food and stuff like that. With being busy with working, and that was another thing with like running a business for so long. It's easy to get like to neglect all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then like I was always skinny, so I'm like, oh, I can eat whatever I want. But yeah, I might be skinny, but it's like that don't mean like you're healthy. So it's like I'm eating, back in the day, I'm eating fast food all the time. Eating, gas station lunches,
stuff, rolling food.
Yeah, stuff that's terrible for you. And then also just not even like getting busy and not even eating, like where you're eating, you eat once or twice a day, you ain't gonna, that's not good. Like I did that, and that's another, like I said, like I wasn't getting the progress with the working out, because it's like you can't really make that much progress if you're not eating enough. You look at all those guys that are like bodybuilders or who are real serious into it, and they'll be like talk about how they eat 8 times a day type of deal, and I'm not doing that kind of stuff, but I definitely noticed the difference when I started putting the effort with the eating aspect of it. And to me, I mean, that's harder. That's a harder part for me. I think that's a harder part for like most people, is the diet versus the actual working out.
And what you said about like having a business and how you let things slack. Like I know when I do a project at home, I'm just in project mode. Like I'm just so consumed by like getting that project done that I just, like, a lot of times I order like a large pizza for myself, and I'll eat that for like 2 days for lunch and dinner, just because it's quick and easy. I'll eat it cold, I'll eat it warm, whatever. Or on the way back from Menards, I'm grabbing some fast food. And I don't really give a shit what I eat. I just want to give me the nutrients I need to get the project done. Plus I'm having project beers the whole time, which I feel like that gives me the carbs to burn through, but so what, like, it's interesting to me, like I know a lot of friends who gain weight. Like my buddy Scott, he was like big on weight gain. Was that like something you set just to like kind of have a measurable result that you were chasing?
What are you saying?
Like as far as chasing a weight, like as a marker of success for like.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess just in my head.
Like that's your weight.
Yeah, it was something to say. Like, plus, if you would have asked me a few years ago about I'll weigh 200 pounds, I would be like, no way. Because it's like, I could, even in the past, like I said, I would have like a really hard time even when working out, I'd have a hard time gaining weight. Like probably, because there have been, like I said, I've been going pretty consistent at it the last couple years, but like all through, in my 20s and stuff like that, I would go work out for like most people for like 5-6 months, and then fall off, and kind of 6 months, a year go by, 2 years, then I go back for 6 months. But even then, like the heaviest I probably would get would have been to like 170 in the past. So it's like, I definitely have been able to put on the most size recently.
I mean, you reach the point when you have like, when working out's like your antidepressant, which is backed by science.
It's a lot cheaper than a therapist.
Yeah. And when I feel like shit, I have to go up there and just get on that row thing or something, like, and it feels like it knocks the cloudiness like out of my head. And I mean, that's scientifically backed. Like when you burn muscle or you're putting muscle under stress, you're releasing similar chemicals to an antidepressant.
To releasing the different endorphins or whatever and stuff like that. I mean, and especially too in Michigan, I mean, we get with our weather, and it gets dark at 5:30. Like, people get the seasonal depression and all that kind of stuff. I feel like it definitely, like I said, I feel like it does as much mentally as
even just feeling sore the next day. You're like, if you feel a little bummed, you're like, but I'm sore. Oh, I'm not like.
I mean, that was another thing that helped me.
Piece of shit. I worked out yesterday.
Helped me a lot after the stuff with like when my old shop burned down. I was like. Yeah, that had me like in a dark, depressed mood for sure. And like, that was like when I kind of started like, going at it even harder, about a year and a half ago. Does that kind of help me like clear my mind and get me back, focused and wanting to, see the light at the end of the tunnel, I guess, type of deal. Like
those dark places, like either you're going to just
you can use it as motivation.
And it's hard to go through I mean, you'd already been doing it for so many years, and you feel like, I see the path I'm going, like I'm being pulled, I'm making it happen, and then like, to get knocked down, it's like, do I really need another hard ass lesson like this again? Like I thought we were past these like
Oh yeah, that's why.
knock you way down. But you know, I think we always feel like in a certain way, like that did happen for a reason. Or, you know, there was some shit I wasn't doing that I needed to be doing. You know, like you feel like the lesson is deserved, no matter how hard it is.
And you get it's experiences that are definitely like that will like humble you, or you know, because you get, I don't know, with me anyways. After doing it for a while, it's like so many ups and downs, and then like years into it, I start seeing some actual like real progress and stuff like that. And then you kind of start to get, at least for me anyways, you start getting like burned out. And then I also started, like I said, started making some real progress and doing better with it. You get a little bit too comfortable, which that's a bad thing to me. I mean, I feel like you should, I mean, that's what people say about like being successful in anything, is like being able to be comfortable being uncomfortable type of deal. And I got a little bit comfortable with it, where that makes you get complacent and you don't have that same drive and ambition. And you got to keep, you basically got to keep basically reinventing yourself. And
it's kind of like the muscles under, like you don't want to be doing the same reps every day, not confusing them. It's like the same thing. Like you're not going to see the same gains, or you're going to see a fall off if you don't keep reinvigorating it and changing the game.
See a lot of people that are the, successful in business and entrepreneurs, and not all of them, because there are the guys that are really successful that are super out of shape and don't take care of themselves that well. But if you look at a lot of them, there's a lot of them they might not be, some kind of like bodybuilder status, but they they regularly exercise, and they take care of their, I feel like it has something to do with, if you want to like be able to contribute more to whatever your vision is, like you got to kind of be like, try to be the best version of yourself. That's kind of like part of why I started getting more serious about it. 'Cause it's like, how can I take, if I'm going to take care of my business or accomplish these goals, like I need to take care of myself, and I need to be a better version of myself, mentally and physically,
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. And I know a guy, Phil, out here, and I think he's 80 something, but he'll always tell you how he cycles every morning. I think that was his workout of choice, but so many miles every morning, and he's still sharp, you know? And he also wakes up every day invigorated because he's got multiple businesses and he's excited about the work he does. And it's like, if you can stay useful and stay healthy, like you can live for a long time. But I feel like the second, if you start spending too much time in the chair, you start not working out, taking care of yourself, not doing things that bring you some level of joy and excitement, invigoration, then you kind of like, just the way the world works, you're going to fall back to the ground and become food for the next.
A lot of people that are, like they show with like statistics with people like after they retire and stuff. That's why they even say like older people that, are retired from their careers, how it's like, it's beneficial for them to even work like that little part-time job that they work 15, 20 hours a week, because it gives them something to do, some kind of purpose,
Well, dude, that's like, honestly, one of the things I've always kind of admired about you is, so I back to what you're saying about retirement, I work at a place where a lot of guys retire, and it's the saddest thing when you see somebody come in with a smile, say, I got 1 week left, and then you hear like a year, 2 years later that they passed away,
That's
and
terrible.
And a lot of that comes from, I think, is, they had this habit of showing up at this place every week, every day, 5 days a week, 7 a.m. So they had this like routine of their life. And then it's like, I don't care how much you like to fish or spend time with your grandkids, like that routine's gone. Like you have to reinvent it, And me as a business owner, I've always dreamt of the day that I would be, self-employed and have my own business. But then I take like a 1 week break from work for like this Christmas break, I held strong all the way up to the end. And then all of a sudden the last like 3 days, I'm like sleeping until 11. The routine starts to slip. So like I've always admired the fact that, you jumped right into it, like straight out of high school. I don't even think you really worked for too many companies, and you were like, I'll be my own boss. And the amount of discipline I know it takes to make all that work, it would be like so I doubt myself on that sometimes.
When I started, so after high school, I ended up working a couple jobs, and then I did go to school for the auto body and collision repair, and then I worked for a body shop. which I worked for them for close to 5 years. But kind of when I like first started working there, like I always wanted to have like my own business, and I wanted to originally I like kind of wanted to open up a collision shop, and so that's why I did work for the company that I did work for, because they were one of the most successful in Metro Detroit in that, in that business. Like I said, I kind of wanted to one day open up a collision shop, but there's a lot more basically capital required to open up a body shop. Just a paint booth alone, is expensive. So then when I was working there, I started, the detailing business just out of my garage. At that point, I was just turned like 23. And I worked still for about 10, 12 months there, and then I went into it full time. So I was like a little under 24, around 24 when I started doing it full time. But yeah, most of my adult life, I've worked for myself. Yeah,
doing the grind, which I'm sure is hit or miss. You have strong weeks, bad weeks.
I mean, especially in the beginning too. It was like that's what you were saying though too. It's like you kind of think you get past it. That's what it's like. I thought that's what happened with me. Like I thought I was through the.
Right.
But it's like it's constantly you're gonna have, don't matter what the business is, like there's gonna be ups and downs with it, and
even habits are things that like come and go. Like for the longest time, I got rid of like hitting snooze. And I thought it's 2 years of not hitting the snooze, and just a lot of times waking up before my alarm clock, getting out of the bed. Like I'm like, this is how you start your day, ready to get up. And then like a year or two ago, it's like all of a sudden I just started hitting the snooze again. Like, habits that I thought I had broken and that were way behind me, same thing with, when I used to work on quitting smoking and I start smoking again, like you quit for 2 years, 3 years. And all of a sudden, like you're back, you're like, I thought that was
quick
gone.
Thing.
So like everything's like, you can't take anything for granted. Like even the habits that you think you're standing on that are solid can even shift and change. And then you're back to trying to figure out that thing you thought you already had figured, So
yeah, you got like you said, it's that definitely the discipline with any of that stuff. I myself wish I was more of a morning person. Like I had a problem where I like working at night and stuff like that. Yeah. So I would be like the person who's like up late, night owl type of deal. And for the longest, then I wasn't getting. That was another thing I was lacking in. I wasn't like I guess I feel like from all the social media and stuff like that, get that brainwashed of like no sleep and this like that's not feasible. Like long term, that's how you get burned out. Like 'cause I was doing that where it's like I'm working late, up, sleep for 5 hours, and then you can do that here and there, but after a while that starts taking a toll on you. And back to the working out thing, and like going to the gym. That was another thing that I wasn't getting in the past. Is not getting that's another huge aspect of fitness is getting the proper amount of sleep. Like you can't get if you're trying to progress with like I said like weightlifting and stuff like that. Like you got to get enough sleep. That's how your muscles and stuff is.
When you're younger, you can almost get away with it. Yeah, you can get away with a little bit more. Because I remember I would stay up till 2, 3 a.m. Have to be at work at 7.
Right.
But I would wake up with like a video I did or something. But I'd be so invigorated by like the ideas I had the night before or the video I did that I'd just be like watching that and be like, all right, and it kind of like pushed me through. Like
I mean, when I was 22,
now it's like I could tell. Now it's
22, 23, I could be going out to the bar and drinking till 2:30 in the morning and be up at 7:30 for work. Like I ain't not doing that now.
And it's like as you get older, it's like more and more important to just like I need to have a system. Like now I have a studio night on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and sometimes I stay up a little late, But it's like at least now I have a system. So as I get older, things start to slip back. And be like, all right, let's try to be in bed before 12 here on these days. But it's like when you're young, you just don't have it. You're just like, oh, there's something going on. I'm there. Like you're just everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. I still have a problem sometimes with staying up late, but I don't really drink too much anymore, just here and there. So, but yeah, like you said, there's a big difference of that between your in your early 20s versus once you start getting into your 30s and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't want to see the sunrise before I went to bed.
No,
ever. Like it's not something I want to do anymore. But I mean, working out, like I said, that's something that I seen you've been grinding, working out, and it's something that I'm definitely, it's really responsible for the quality of my life. So it's something I want to talk about. But your main thing is detailing cars, which I don't even think we mentioned that yet, except for your story. So I know that you got into it because your dad was kind of in auto body repair.
Yeah.
And then it you just kind of fell into it. But now you've done I know we talked about it before. Like you were really hanging around with some kind of ballers in the Detroit area that cleaning their yachts and their cars, and they kind of. I mean, you would always come with some kind of great insight, for what people said. Have you heard anything recently from any mentors that have kind of motivated you?
That's definitely was a benefit with the business that I'm in, is being able to definitely get to interact with a lot of other successful business owners and stuff like that. So yeah, over the years I been able to get a lot of kind of, it was cool inspiration and knowledge and stuff from them, from just being around people
saying that I've
that
been
kind of did the
at,
same thing, but to a larger scale, and getting to learn things, little stuff here and there from them. But yeah, that's definitely been a huge benefit of the type of business I'm in.
I always feel like that's like something that, we might have these influencers online and stuff that are, there's more than ever right now.
Oh, yeah.
Alpha males out there telling, get out there and grind 5 a.m., boy, let's go, like
half those guys, probably 90% of those guys aren't even doing the stuff that they're saying.
Yeah. They're just doing, their stuff is selling you the stuff, they might not have businesses, but it's nice when you actually meet somebody that's like kind of from your community, looks like an average guy, not on YouTube, not like super salesman-y, but he's like, I've been where you've been with my business. Every business does it. Like that's just like so reassuring, because owning a business and from the
I've seen those guys, the guys that with the yachts and the crazy cars and stuff like that, and they still go through the struggles of it. They might have like on just a different level of it though, because it's like they have a lot of revenue coming in, but they also have a lot more. Yeah, it's a lot more expenses to operate that business and to keep that type of lifestyle going. That's why kind of like they were saying how like during like with COVID and stuff, how the effect that had on businesses, how it was actually beneficial for some of the smaller operations, because it's a lot easier to make it through some of that versus when you're a company that has huge 200 overhead. Employees. Like I noticed that if I had customers that were huge, big companies, they were telling me like, oh, we can't pay, like that owed me money before all the shutdowns and stuff like that, like slow paying me or not.
Ford
like
Motor Company, not kidding.
Can't pay you right now, like type of deal. Like what do you mean? How can you not pay me right now? Like that's what you owe me is nothing to you guys. But it's like even them, it's like they have to keep everything going, keep all their, they have all those employees, stuff like that. Where if you had so it's like,
well, they always say like even like every like depression or every time the economy takes a turn, that it's not only the lack of overhead that small businesses have, but it's like with that comes like more agility, so they can maneuver and flex and go this direction and change their whole model. Whereas a big company, like they have so much structure, and everybody in that company is like a cog that keeps this giant machine going. And it's like you can't just turn that giant machine on a dime and be like, we got to adjust to the market, go over here. Whereas a small business, so it is a great opportunity for small businesses, and I think right now there's a lot of opportunity for small businesses with the new, with AI and new tools coming out in digital marketing. It's like
it's new opportunities.
Now it's like the stuff that only big people can do. Now we can utilize to look as big as them, but also with that personal touch of, hey, we're local. You can like come to my shop. Yeah, you can meet me to talk about your car getting detailed.
It opens a lot more new opportunities for those small businesses where they can compete or portray the image of that they would have never been able to 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Good technology is the equalizer kind of thing,
and and that's why I think you see some of the smaller businesses that really are having a crazy amount of growth right now is because they might be smaller, but they're really like utilizing all of that kind of stuff. Where there's some of these big companies that have crazy annual revenue that's coming in, but they're not even technically utilizing. I mean, now I guess there's more and more use they are, but like even kind of when people started implementing a lot of this automated technology and stuff like that in the companies, there was a lot of the big companies that weren't even like, you know.
Well, even think about if you were a business and you're working with like a certain software to manage appointments or something, like, and you started 10 years ago and you're hugely successful, like, or maybe the company even sells that. Like, you started with this software and that was software from 10 years ago. And it might be getting adapted over time, but now it's like if you came in selling similar software like myself, I feel like I kind of always find myself coming at the right time. Even video was like right when they started doing DSLRs for video. You know, so I got to skip over the super expensive film cameras, and like editing was easier. Like I kind of fell in at the right time. Well, digital marketing is like the same thing. It's like now these companies that have all these clients, they can't just leverage and utilize this new tool that brings in AI and brings in all this stuff.
I know from seeing like when we were starting out doing all that stuff, you've had to see a lot of crazy amount of changes just from how stuff was in the beginning when you were initially starting out in it to what you have available to you now.
Oh yeah. I always explain it like it's like a technological wave, and I've just been paddling my fucking little arms off trying to keep up with, like, so that hopefully someday I can, like, and I know I'm just going to jump on it and get on top of it for a little bit, and I'll probably fall off, you know, at some point, but it's like I'm going to get my speed up and try to, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, you keep going at how you have been, you'll be in good shape.
Yeah. So you said you got a new location. So you used to be on Taylor and Eureka, right?
Northline.
Yeah. Flawless Auto Finish, and now you're out at Plymouth, right?
Livonia. I moved out to Livonia last year, kind of after everything with the fire at the old location. But yeah, basically before that, I've been based downriver for 12, 13 years. Yeah. Basically prior to that, which, Livonia moving out there was nice. Area, really good area and central location. It's been definitely brought on some of its own, like I said, challenges with moving there. It's, like I said, a good location and central to a lot of other, cities on by the freeways and stuff like that. So it's within a half hour of a lot of places, but it's brought on a little bit, like I said, of some challenges because being down in Taylor and downriver for so long, kind of have a clientele spread out all over, but definitely have a lot of customers that from the southern part of downriver, more of like I said, Trenton, Wyandotte, Groseal, stuff like that. So with those guys, it's made it a little bit tough because that's a little bit of a ride for them. Right. Some of our like bigger jobs and like the ceramic coatings and paint corrections and stuff like that, most of those people, they don't mind, dropping off the vehicle because it's going to be a lot more big labor involved in it, where they're leaving it with us for a couple days, where, it's kind of had an effect on some of the like detail work. Because it's like if you have to drive 45 minutes to drop the vehicle off, then you got to drive back, and then it's going to be done later that day. Then you got to drive 45 minutes here to pick it up. 45 minutes. That's you got 3 hours of driving involved right there. So that's not really too convenient or practical. So that's kind of like, even though I've tried to shift, most of the work that we're doing towards doing more of the high ticket jobs, which is like the paint corrections and ceramic coatings, still get a good amount of revenue that's coming in from the details, and that's something that I've offered since the very beginning. So it's like I still count on that. So it's like, but it's also just kind of establishing the name in another area, like I said, and also and initially opening in Livonia, it was kind of a little bit just getting basically the word out to all the past customers and clientele that we're back open, because after the fire at the old location, we were basically as far as shop-based services, were pretty much closed for pretty much like a year. I was still doing some work for some of our like commercial accounts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But majority of the work that we did, I was unable to do without, till getting it open back up.
To me, it's so wild that people aren't like seeking you out, because like I'll see you make posts and like you're at Comerica Park detailing the cars that are there. You're at Ford Motor Company detailing cars for the parade. Like all these big companies, big institutions, like they know who to go to, or they work with you. They know your stuff.
Yeah, and so those guys, a lot of them have been working with them for several years. That's one of the things. Definitely another thing that's huge with any business is just building those relationships, and I guess nurturing those relationships, which I did good with that on the most part. But then there's times where I look back at stuff where it's like I should have put more effort with certain just like I said, that now we live in a obviously with all the technology and social media and stuff like that, but it doesn't take away from how important those like true like personal face-to-face connections and like the old school of shaking hands and handing out cards and just building that actual that's also something that sets you apart from the other guys.
Well, definitely like face-to-face, like we talked about it before, like going to car club meetings or like car shows, like and then getting involved in the community and stuff. But like face-to-face is always number one, and I think video can do a lot online to introduce
that
people
gets them in the door
to second best thing. But even like the more I learn about digital marketing, like you're talking about contacts, like following up with people or things like that. Like it's so huge to have things like automated text message 2 months after an appointment saying we hope that this is working out great for you, sure. And then it's like, even though they might think it's an automatic message, it's still like, oh, like those touch points are so, I've been seeing that so much with businesses I work with, like those touch, or even an appointment, getting an email, getting a text 2 hours before saying like look for like those things are increased show up rate, and it's just you're just touching the attention and hitting it, and then it's like increases the likelihood that lead comes through or comes back, or
I mean they say a lot of people with it's not that they might not from lapsed customers or who you haven't dealt with or seen for a little while, it's not that they were unhappy with the last service they got from you. It's like people get so caught up and busy they kind of forget about you in a sense. But that text message or that email, email blast or whatever, or having a strong social media presence that gets you back in front of their face, where they're like, oh yeah, I got to call them. I need to get get this done.
I mean, it's 2025 now, but we're all always buying. It's like we're always being sold something. I feel like I'm always trying to sell me on like the next something I'm going to buy myself.
It's easier to sell to somebody who you've sold to before, versus selling to someone who you never sold to.
And I see some of the cars that come out of your garage, man. Like when you do those ceramic coatings and stuff, and they roll out. I mean, the before and after is just insane. When you the paint correction and the ceramic coating and they roll, it's like everybody's probably glowing, and that's probably why you had so many return people. It's just like such a great show and tell. People love their cars, I mean, I love watching people power wash sidewalks too. I think it's super satisfying. But when you see somebody's like red Corvette or some like hot color come out of your garage,
like you said, people love their cars, and that feeling that someone gets when they come and they first see it and they're just smiling from ear to ear, like that's what I'm really selling, like that sense of pride that they get and that joy that like that. And then they're sending pictures to their friends and posting on their social media and super excited. Some guy actually made a customer who I've done a good amount of work for, like him and his wife. He actually thought of like at the old shop, I never really did it, but he was like, dude, you should do it. Because one time when we ceramic coated his car, he came up and he was like just so like ecstatic and like geeked up
videos.
Yeah, and he was like telling me, he's like, dude, you should mount. You'd have to get him to like sign off on it after, but like have like basically how like have like action cameras set up around where the car is, where they pick it up, so you can just kind of get their response. I never did that, but I was like, I thought that was like definitely a good idea.
You think about the way they drive off too. Like I got a friend, he used to say, "New paint job, new attitude." You know, like it might not be a new paint job, but that boy's shining like it's a new car again.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? So like they're,
Well, yeah,
they're
it makes
riding away.
It makes people too, like, you know, that like you said, people really people get really into their cars, especially somebody that's calling me, like, if you're going to pay us to do a ceramic coating or do this or to even detail it for the most part, you're someone who really cares about your car more than, you know, the average person who just don't wash it for years type of deal.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I did bring my Prius in one day, but you guys still did a great job.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're someone who, dang, I don't know why I just went completely blank there for a minute.
No, it's fine. I've done that plenty of times. I did that on the last episode, I think. Just snap back with something like completely off. But I mean, I have a next question for you if you want to move on. So
they'll come back to me.
Yeah, when it comes back, just share it. But what's the biggest mistake somebody? So one thing is, I don't think I'm gonna really get a ceramic coat until I get like a new car. You know, right now I'm in like, I want to buy a car and not have a car payment, and I wonder how people even do car payments now. I'm like, you know, I'm spending all the money I make, you know, without a car payment. But
I remember now
what's
when I was
some of the
thinking now.
What you want to share?
Oh no, I was just saying too. It makes, like you were saying, the person really cares about their car. So it's kind of like if you get, say you've had a car for, you know, 3-4 years or however many years, and you really were super excited, and you kind of like that stuff, like that feeling, and kind of like dies off a little bit, and you're like, maybe in the back of your head you're even thinking like, oh man, I would like to get this new car or this or whatever. Well, then like you bring it up and have us do a paint correction on it, or a paint correction and ceramic coating, and it gets it back to looking how it does. Like it kind of like brings that excitement and joy back to you, like when you first got it type of deal. And
it's cheaper than that new car that you might have been looking at.
Oh, we've had people even that were like, bring a car to get something done on it that they, you know, they really, you know, liked the car a lot, or might have had it for a while. It was like their car that, you know, that they would drive in the summer, and they're like, oh, I'm going to sell it, get rid of it, bring it in and to get it done. And like, oh, it's not for sale now. Like, we've had a guy that brought it with a for sale sign in the window, had us detail it. And then when he came and picked it up, he took the for sale sign off. Like, my wife's gonna kill me. Like, it ain't for sale no more.
That's great. You know, that maybe that should be your big like sales like campaign. Should just be like, you don't need a new car.
Right.
Get a paint correction and ceramic coating from Flawless Auto Finish. You know, because like that'll probably resonate with a lot of people. Like, I mean, we could try that first. You know, a couple $100 instead of, you know, or whatever.
Taking out a brand new car payment. Yeah, because like you said, once you have a car paid off, like it's like they can't beat that. You're just paying for the insurance and the general maintenance. The only thing is once cars, usually depending on what type of car it is, I guess they start getting. My experience in the past is, in like, once I have a car that's paid off, it's like you start getting to where it's like you're constantly having to repair stuff on it, where it's like, then it's like you have to deal with that headache, where if it gets to a point where you're doing it so much, you're like, I'd rather just pay that car payment.
But you always
nowadays though, the price of new cars, so high that it's like some of them, it's like, depending on what you're getting, it's like people buy a new truck, it's like your payment on a new truck is ridiculous.
And a lot of times people are just trying to sell themselves on buying a new vehicle. It's like, you haven't had a car payment in 2 years, and then something happens and it's $4,000 to fix it. Well, yeah, that seems like a lot, but that's nothing compared to what you just saved in a car payment over the last 2 years. You know, like give it that one more chance. You know, give it the transmission, see what happens. Give it one more. You know, you're still coming out ahead. And my dad actually just did that. You know, he always will go out and buy a new F-150. And this time he decided, like, I just paid it off. I want to keep it. And he was wrestling with buying something new again. But he went out and got some, like, little flanges for it. And he tinted the windows. Got some new tires and some new rims, you know.
Yeah.
And his excitement went right back up.
Yeah.
Like, just as excited as a new vehicle. Because we all know that new vehicles, like, that newness wears off. You know, that's kind of like what... It didn't hook me, because I kind of treat my cars like they're farm equipment. Like, I just get in them and drive them. I'll throw shit in there.
Use it for its purpose to get you.
Yeah, and I want reliability, and I also know that newness wears off. I've bought plenty of things and been super geeked about it just to see it just fall out of my attention in no time. You know, and waste away on a shelf or something. You know,
or like you get that. it brings you that joy at first for a little while, and then it's kind of like how they say with like certain materialistic purchases that you buy it, and then it's like, that's why people just can be, I have been in the past where it's like you're not really being responsible with your purchases because you're just chasing that, basically, that high that's from that excitement. And then, but that's the thing, is when you're just buying stuff like that, and it's not really, you're excited at first, but it fades pretty quickly.
It seems like it should be a staple or like a tradition. Like when you finally pay off a car, it seems like it should be a tradition to go and get like a ceramic, a wax job, a ceramic. You know, I'm not the expert here, but you know, the ceramic coating or paint correction and the wax and the interior detail, and then like make it new again. Like,
so it's the importance of. I'll tell people if it's, you know, if they're buying a new vehicle and they're, you know, they plan on keeping it, or it's something like just with the cost of these new vehicles, it makes sense to do it, you know, like the ceramic coating and stuff like that, because it's definitely, not even if you're getting into the ceramic coatings, but just like the detailing and stuff, you definitely are going to tell a difference of like the person who, you know, just because I've seen it on cars from customers that, you know, I've dealt with, where it's like they're bringing it, you know, once or twice a year, every year since they basically got it, you know, what that car looks like 5 years down the road versus someone who's never did anything on it, which, you know, on that person who's never did anything on it, we can definitely bring that back to, you know, like new showroom finish and looking good, but it's like it's gonna take potentially a lot more work, where it could be a lot more expensive.
Because kind of everything you do, whether it's an exterior, interior, every service almost has like a certain level of protection that's also providing in there,
restoring it and protecting it, or just, you know, more of enhancing it and protecting it on something that is new. But yeah, definitely, you know, trying to protect whatever we possibly can to preserve, you know, the value and integrity of the vehicle, as far as, you know, from your interior with your leather seats to the exterior paint, trim, wheels, all of that. Just try to protect it as much as possible, definitely, especially, I mean, that's important everywhere, but like, especially with what cars are exposed to here in Michigan, with, you know, the winter seasons and salt and snow,
potholes,
everything,
gravel haulers and gravel haulers,
just everything. I mean, depending, especially where you're at, you know, like where you live, it's a lot more, you got people that living around with dirt roads, or even downriver, the certain areas where there's more dirt roads, where they're definitely getting exposed to, you know, gravel, sand, you know.
You were one of the first people that you introduced me to the whole idea of even like ceramic coatings, you know, and it's like, it always amazed me. I mean, because you went to a bunch of training from different companies, like you're probably the ceramic coating guy in like the downriver area. But it's like, it's amazing to me. It seems like just not enough people know about that service, because it's like, it's odd to, you know, to think that you go spend a couple $100 or whatever it is, and like you're going to actually add like a protectant, like kind of sealant on, you know, like if people really knew what that was, I almost feel, and of course auto manufacturers aren't going to provide a car and be like, oh yeah, we sell this with a coating, you know, that, so then you end up with all those, you know, because I've seen some of the tests you've done, like whether it's gravel from gravel haulers or whatever, like, you know, that number 9 hardness, I'm sure you can elaborate on that.
The 9H hardness.
Yeah, but it's like, it's just so valuable, but it's like, this seems like it's under, like, known. Well, people just don't know about it. And like you said, only heavy car people in car communities would know about it.
Car enthusiasts, and they definitely more know about it. I mean, that I was definitely, you know, one of the early people offering the ceramic coatings. I mean, I was offering different ceramic coating packages back in like 2014, which people were getting it, obviously, and it was like heard of, but it was a lot bigger at that point in like the UK and other places. It wasn't as big here in the US, where at that point when I was like trying to sell people on it, most people they didn't know what it was at all. I mean, social media definitely kind of expanded that because now you get like basically so many, you'll see so many different videos on like, you know, so if you are in the cars, when you're on Instagram or something like that, just because of the stuff you look at, you're going to get shown, you know, some of those videos and stuff like that, which that was like kind of another challenge in itself too. Cause it was like, I was one of the early people doing it. So it's like in the beginning, there wasn't a whole lot of, you know, I wasn't getting a whole lot of ceramic coating jobs. Then there went into a period kind of, cause I did establish myself as one of the early people. It started getting popular and more people knowing about it. But there was limited people that were really offering it, or that were offering it, that actually knew what they were doing and doing it the proper way. So it's kind of like we were killing it with getting a lot of those jobs coming in. And then also I've noticed definitely in the last probably 3-4 years of just how many more detailing companies are popping up like on a regular basis. Cause we'll be honest, like that's definitely a business that somebody can open with, a limit with, it's not going to, the cost of entry is a lot less than, like I said, I wanted to open up initially a collision shop, a body shop. Well, that's going to cost me a couple $100,000 to open that up. I can open up this, like I said, I started it out of my garage part-time. I probably, my initial entry to it was $3,000-$4,000, maybe just getting some of the tools I needed, the basic tools and supplies. So then there was, there's so many new companies, and there's a lot of them that are offering a lot more basically competitive, where there's a lot more companies that offer the ceramic coatings. And another thing is that's it makes it tough is with some of these new companies, and they might be just doing mobile company, or they're new to it, just fresh into doing it on their own, and they're offering it for like this super low rate that makes it tough on the companies that are doing it the right way, or the guy that's doing it for a third or half the price that I'm doing it, I'm not gonna talk bad about nobody, but it's most likely they're not doing it the proper way, because you wouldn't be able to afford to do it like that and like stay in business. Like there's a bunch of companies that are racing to the bottom.
But it's so important though. It's like getting your, somebody getting plastic surgery, or somebody getting their teeth worked on. Like you're not going to go to the cheapest dentist.
No. Well, that's the thing.
So a lot of the guys that are really in the car community probably wouldn't go with those people, but other people might have a bad experience and then never do it again.
You're right 100% on that. Like the guy with the higher end vehicles, they're not going to, but the problem is there is some guys that are doing a good quality of work, but they're just doing it so cheap. Like they're actually doing a good job, but the thing is like they're not going to be around in 2 years, because it's like you can't do that. Like it's not, you can't scale a business.
It's
like
not
that.
like the game of dispensaries where like all these dispensaries are out there,
or they're
giving
guys
away
that are
things
coming
for
off,
free
that worked for another company or worked in another business, and they're just new to doing it on their own. So it's like them doing it for that super low rate, like they're still in their head, they're like, well, I'm still making a lot more than when I was working at this shop or doing it there. Like, but the thing is, they're not looking at all the other aspects of expenses of running a business, and their insurance and their taxes and their, or like I said, and if you are a guy that's just doing it, say you have a van and a mobile unit, like your operating expenses are going to be a lot lower than mine, or someone that has, so it's like they can offer for that price. But you're right. I mean, definitely the guys with the higher end cars. I mean, I've noticed something over the years of just because I look back even at like that's why I'm not saying nothing bad about nobody doing it for, a cheap price. Because I look at stuff of what when I was starting out of like what I was doing. Like I find like one of my old flyers from like 10 years ago or something that's like I was doing all this for this price, where it's like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Like, but
you had that young back.
Yeah, exactly. And you're trying to, and initially in the beginning, you're trying to, you're trying to get whatever work you can. So it's like that.
It's like you didn't need sleep then, you didn't need money.
Yeah, there's like what people say. Like when I went to like the auto body school for learning about auto body and stuff, the teacher there who ran the program, he's like came from a body shop background and his family owned body shops. And he always said that. He was like, there's two ways to stay in, like there's two ways to stay in business. You can be the cheapest or you can be the best.
Right.
There's a demand for both of them because there's always been people who want the, you know, so which one do you want to be really? And that's definitely true. Like there's definitely going to be people who, it's like it don't matter what your prices are too. There's people that are always going to complain about it. That's how, so might as well raise your prices because people are going to complain regardless. But talking about raising prices in the higher end vehicles, I definitely noticed just over the years, anytime throughout the time of starting, operating the business, I've noticed every time that I've raised my prices some, the level of the quality of cars has went up. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what you want. I mean,
try to get out those minivans. You obviously
have an interest in cars too. That's the cars you want to be working on.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the cars you want to see come out of your garage. You know, like. And I've seen you do. I mean, you've got some good cars that have come through there.
I think a sweet spot too is like the high end, but like the middle high end area, because it's like sometimes it's like some of the super high end stuff.
They might scare away the.
Well, I've had like people too that are like that have like crazy like bring a $200,000-$300,000 car where they're like trying to be like cheap on the price. It's because so many people want to do that too. It's like they'll take the job.
How do you think
just
I got this car, man?
Did it, but it's like sometimes like it's like you can make the profit margins are going to be better on like that car that's the Charger. $70,000-$80,000 car versus the $200,000 car, because you also are having to be like, depending on who you have working on it or whatever, but like you're taking your time so much on it and trying to be so like extra careful with it because you mess something up on this car, it's a $10,000 mistake. You know what I'm saying?
We're calling the insurance
making
company.
Insurance claims and all kinds of stuff.
Now, when you have like a high end car like that, are you like, all right, all other cars out of here? Like you're just bringing in that one. And
I mean, typically, anytime in the past of like doing like me when we're having super high end stuff, it's like I'm not just letting anyone that works work on it. It's definitely going to be certain stuff that I'm going to make sure I'm going to do, or it's going to be someone who I really trust, who's really, really experienced, obviously, like I said, versus I'm not going to be your first week and I'm like, you're detailing the Ferrari over there.
You know, about pricing, there was like something I heard a while ago, and I can't remember the exact number, but they said like basically like 20% or 1 in 5 people that you give a quote to should basically say it's too much. Like,
I've
if
heard,
you're not there, like, something like that, and you should always increase your price like 5% a year, like constantly, and 5% increments, like, and never like stop increasing because you got to adjust for inflation too. So it's not like you can just lock off prices and be like, that's it.
Right.
You got to always be kind of like increasing.
Well, which it's like it's something I seen someone talk about before too, with like a service business. Is he was saying like, if you're like crazy, like backed up, like your schedule, if you're like, oh, we're backed out for 2 months, 3 months, that sounds good when you're like from the outside, like, oh, they're killing it, their schedule's full for 2 or 3 months. Your schedule's full for 2 or 3 months, your prices are too low,
right?
Because that means that like your price, I'm not saying you're not good at what you do, but your prices are too low because you're getting, people are like booking, if your schedule's, finding that sweet spot, I guess, like, because if you have like, you're that booked up and have no openings, then you could get away with charging 20 or 30% higher rate, and your schedule might not be 2 or 3 months, but you might, you have a good workflow still,
a month or
you're going to end up making more money doing less work.
And be less stressed and
and that's another hard thing too with like service businesses, and like times I know in the past of when we'll get so busy, it's like you don't want to turn away jobs, and that's kind of like you see it happen a lot with a lot of the guys that are in the like car business is like you don't want to turn away the job, so it's like you take on way more than what you can get done, and then now you're working 15 16-hour days, or now your delivery times aren't as good on the vehicle, so that's ultimately is actually going to hurt you, because it's like not, that's all part of the, like I said, the learning curve of everything, I guess. I mean,
it's never ending for sure. You're always making mistakes, or I'm still like giving proposals or quotes and then getting accepted and being like, oh shit, I'm gonna take my lump on this one. Well,
that's the worst thing too, is or too something when you quote like a big job, or like, you know, like something like I'll do like for like a commercial account or an event or something like that, and I hit them with the quote, and they're just like instantly they're like, yep, right. Or like, no, say nothing about the like, they're like, oh man, like you realize you're like, oh, I could have charged them, I could have charged some more money there, where it's like ideally if they're like,
well, it's easy.
I want to max that out.
And that's something I think I'm starting to get a little bit better at that, because I'm always been bad, and sometimes it's nice too, because I'll bounce things off Marla. You know, she's like, you're worth more than that, you know, and then that helps me. But I've been going a little bit higher than I think I should go on everything, you know, just to have a little more confidence, because you always want the yes. So sometimes you're just like, oh, well, I'd rather just say $500 less than what I really want, and assure I get it, you know. But I mean, but the more you put that extra 500 or the extra percentage on there,
though, dude,
the
and
more,
you have,
you know,
you can charge. They're not going to get a service like what you're going to be able to deliver to them. Just what I've seen with stuff that I've worked with you on, and that I've seen your work of stuff that you've done, like might be a lot of people that offer some of the similar services, but they're not going to get the level of, like I said, level of quality. Or
it's just something that all businesses have to, all business owners and creatives too. You know, if you're doing, I don't care if you're doing graffiti or if you're doing photos or you're doing whatever, like any kind of business or service that you're providing, everybody struggles with that, like trying to, you know, the self-doubt. You know, everybody feels like a poser to a certain extent, or you feel like,
I feel like that's like you said, that's a challenge for like all businesses, and especially quoting jobs and pricing. And that's such a huge aspect of the business, and plays such a big role in like
sales too. Like, I mean, I feel like I always sucked at sales, and I always wish, like when I was younger, that I would have like I don't care. You know how we always had those ads for selling Kirby vacuums? Like, I wish I would have even done that for a summer, just to get used to like getting turned down. And like, you know, everybody says sales is like one of the best jobs they ever had, because it just taught them how to like take no's and not let them bring them down. And I never really had that, you know?
And it's
like, that would have been huge.
It's also too, so it's just something that like, that skill is such a great, important skill to have, just because also the fact of like, if you can sell, you can do basically any type of job or career for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Like you can take that into a completely different type of business, and be able to have success in it, and not even outside of like running and operating your own business, just having that sales skill. That's a job that, if you're not running your own business, that's a certain job depending on what you're selling, but like you can kind of, it's a lot of ups and downs with that, just like running a business, but you can kind of, the cap of what you can make is, there's not really a cap. You can make as much as you're good at it. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen a lot of people have found a lot of success in sales, because sales, like you're saying, it's not capped. So you work, say you're a line worker or even a trades worker, you get paid an hourly rate, and that's it.
Or a salary.
But sales guys, they're getting commission, and if you're good at your job,
you could have a sales guy that's making only 50 grand, or that's making 50 grand, and then you could have a sales guy in that same company that could be making 350 grand.
And then that guy who's making 300, he's going to be the head of the sales, so he's going to get a bump in salary, because you're measuring performance constantly. So if you're performing, you're going to elevate to a higher salary, and maybe even a higher commission rate, and you're going to head the sales, or then maybe head the regional sales of that company. You know, like, so it's like sales is something that's very, I know it's a grind. I don't think it's easy
it's
money.
a tough job.
But when you figure it out, I mean, and like you said too, even if you do it when you're young and you don't use it, you're going to use those skills that you get. You know? Like we all get jobs.
And sales is tough too, because it's like how to like I said, to be a good salesman, where it's like you can make the person feel like you're not even selling them, because it's like you don't want to be like one of those, like come off as the stereotype of like a sleazy car salesman.
Some of these
Matilda's dad.
Some of these Rocket Mortgage salespeople are they're
persistent.
So so aggressive. But
that's how, I mean, a lot of the companies, especially like you see those big companies, that's how they kind of, I feel like they're pushing their sales team like so much that it's like, they have to be like that, or like they don't really stick around. But it's like, I don't know. It's tough
I had
because
a lady call me saying, it's a great time to refinance your home. And I'm like, aren't interest rates at like 10%? This is a while ago. She's like, yeah, but I can get you like 40 grand. I was like, wouldn't I put my payment at like $4,000 a month or $3,000 a month, like, and she's like, yeah. I was like, well, I don't think I can afford that. She's like, well, you can put the 40 grand in the bank. And I'm like, I just couldn't believe that she was like on the phone. She's like a top level salesperson at Rocket Mortgage, like trying to ruin my life. Like somebody else might think, oh, that's great. I could buy some shoes and I'll put that money in. You're not going to put the money in the bank and not touch it. That person's going to lose their house if somebody actually took her up on that.
You're putting people into like unnecessary. They're taking on unnecessary debt that they're not.
Yeah, you might as well call somebody's grandma and try to have them get a bunch of prepaid cards and send them to you.
On like an ethical standpoint, some of those sales jobs would be tough because of that. Because it's like, I wouldn't. Nobody wants to feel like that. Like you're like, that's
pushing a bad thing,
And I feel like to really be truly good at selling something, like you got to really you have to truly believe in what you're selling.
Yeah.
Because I noticed the big difference of when we go back to like with the ceramic coatings. When I first was offering it in 2014, like no one really heard of it. I just kind of started doing it on vehicles, so I didn't get to see like how it held up, after so many years and what kind of performance, what the product actually delivered. I'm just going by what the manufacturer is saying, at that point. So it's like I'm kind of in the back of my head, I'm a little bit skeptical about it, even some of these customers. But then once I actually really got where I'm seeing it, seeing the benefits of it and seeing how this vehicle looks 2-3 years down the road. Right. Once I really started believing in what I'm selling, I noticed basically the sales rate and just the closing rate of doing quotes and closing those jobs went way up.
Well, you almost have so much more confidence when you.
And that was another thing with what I was saying, like the face-to-face interactions is and you were saying the videos and the pictures and the website, that gets that's super important. You have to have that, and that gets people interested in the door. But then that was the one thing, I would have all that stuff, online or on social media on our website where they can see that and lots of information so they can read, do the research, whatever. If they would call me, that was one of the things I would try to really do. If it wasn't someone that I've dealt with in the past, is try to get them to come in to bring the vehicle, to do a quote and to talk to them in person, to tell them, it's only going to take us 10 or 15 minutes. But also with doing those jobs, you do kind of need to see the vehicle in person to be able to give them an exact price as far as just because the prep work involved and stuff like that. But I would try to tell customers, bring it by, set it up to bring it by. I check it out in person. It'll take us 10, 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. I'll be able to tell you exactly what needs to be done prep work wise, and then give you a few different options with exact pricing for each. And it was if I was able to get them to bring the vehicle up and talk to them in person, majority of those customers, they would book an appointment, by the time they left, because just getting that face-to-face interaction and them seeing that what you're actually talking about, and you're not just you don't just got something on your website. I think
that's the big thing. It isn't so much that you were a great sales guy and you pressured the sale, but it was you're so knowledgeable at it. And a lot of these guys are car guys, so they know how to troubleshoot things. They know how to ask questions. They're also curious, so they're probably asking questions that aren't even related to what they're there for. But because they can't throw you for a loop on anything because you're so knowledgeable about it, it's sold, And I've been in those situations too where I feel I sold not from me being a salesperson or following good sales practices, but for me going there and them asking good questions and me always having the answers and them kind of
can't have any objections.
That's trust. And then they're just here, take my keys.
I was like to say, people spend their money with who they trust,
Right.
And that's definitely, you're right. That definitely plays a huge factor in getting making them feel comfortable and and everybody wants to feel like they're making the right decision. You know what I'm saying? That's the worst thing is when someone gets some kind of service or a product and then they basically have the buyer's remorse, or then after they're like, man, that was stupid. No one wants to feel like that.
Yeah. Instilling that confidence, I think, is a huge thing. So we should probably wrap this up, but I kind of had this question in the back of my head just because it's probably a low hanging question, but what's some of the biggest like mistakes you see? Like if you had a giant stage and could talk to every car owner, what are the things you would tell them not to do to protect like what's the big like one or two things not to do, and then like the big 2 or 3 things to do to like increase the longevity of their car and the.
Well, number one thing I'll always say is like, if it's a car that you really care about, don't take it through a brush car wash for sure. Unless it's, I guess like certain people, if it's a car that they don't really care so much about the finish, or it's like white paint or silver paint or something like that, it doesn't show the scratches so much. But like, if you really care about the car, don't take it through the automatic brush washes, because it's like you're gonna get scratches, you're gonna get damage to your paint, longevity. I mean, somebody that maybe is leasing a vehicle or they don't plan on keeping it, and they like to keep their car clean, but they don't really care if it gets some scratches in it, then go for it. But like, yeah, don't take it through car washes with the brush washes, because it's basically putting scratches into your paint. And a lot of them, they have like their spray waxes and stuff like that the machine puts on there that has like fillers and stuff like that in it. So it's like some of those actually, it's like putting scratches in there, but it's spraying those products and those fillers on it before it comes out, so it kind of hides them. And then a lot of those same places, they offer the unlimited washes per month. So it's like people are coming every 2 to 3 days to get it.
The same spots are getting scratched.
So it's getting scratched deeper and deeper, but it's getting hidden, with those fillers and stuff like that. Then they don't get their car washed for a couple weeks, and then, or they don't get their car washed for a couple weeks, and they hand wash it themselves at home one time for some reason or something like that. And they're like, or they see it in the sunlight and it's black paint, and they're like, whoa, where all them scratches come from? Like, they've been there. They just have been
I
hidden.
didn't know that about the fillers. I mean, I've heard you and other people mention the brushes, but I've never heard about that they spray those. That's all those colorful
you'll see
chemicals.
like the super wash or something like that. That's like gets the triple layer wax, whatever they want to call it. Their marketing words for it. But yeah, that stuff is usually typically as like a certain type of spray wax product that has like fillers and stuff like that in it that hide, typically the same thing of like certain people, sometimes they'll get, as far as like with us, I've never used like products that have like because there's a lot of waxes that have fillers and stuff like that in them. I have never used those because of the fact of like, you don't want the car to look good when they pick it up, and then 3-4 car washes down the road, it looks terrible again. Which that's like a lot of used, not all, but like there's a lot of like the used car lots and used car dealers that utilize those products that have glazes that you'll buy the car from the lot, and the paint will look like glass. 2 months down the road, you're like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, that's because
I know you're talking about those little micro, small circle,
swirl marks.
Yeah,
it fills those in. I mean, that's mainly the only places that are really typically. I mean, a quality detailing shop isn't going to use that, but like used car prep for like dealers and stuff like that, they'll use that. They're notorious for that. If you are, I mean, I know it's not practical for most people too to like be able to hand wash their vehicle always, or take it to a hand car wash. Like in Michigan, there's not hand car washes a lot.
Right.
Where like other states and places, there's a lot more of them than there is here. But if you're not going to go through a hand car wash, or you're not going to hand wash it or take it to a hand car wash, definitely a touchless wash is a better option. I mean, you got to kind of be careful with some of those even still too, because of like the chemicals and stuff that they use in there. You got to look how it is on the, the pH level of the product that they're using, how acidic it is. A lot of the really good products that clean the wheels and clean the paint and everything off of it are aggressive chemicals.
And they're probably going with, I mean, it's a big franchise business, so they're probably going with like the cheapest
stuff they can get. Yeah.
Fine, right?
So it's like those acidic products and stuff like that are going to, it's not good for the paint. It's going to discolor, the black trim where you see on cars where the trim pieces are turned white, stuff like that. It's not good for any of that. So you got to be careful with that. That's why I tell people, if you do go through a touchless, it's kind of better to just get the basic touchless wash.
Don't go with the highest level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the basic soap and water one.
Yeah.
Thing about the touchless washes are, though, a lot of times, unless you have like a good ceramic coating or a good sealant or something like that on the paint, a lot of times those don't clean as well. Because it's
without the heavy chemicals.
Yeah, it doesn't clean as well. So it's like, it's kind of a tough thing. Like if it's like a car that you really care about, you should definitely, hand wash it or take it through a touchless wash.
Or get like a ceramic coating, and then you could do the low touchless wash that is now going to be more effective.
Oh yeah, that's what one of the major benefits of the ceramic coating is. Like, it's going to clean up so much easier after that's done. A lot of times, really, the car's not super dirty. I mean, you get away with just spraying it with the power washer, and it's going to get pretty clean just from doing that alone. And you can also get away with, just going to a self-service, not using their brush wash or anything like that, but just power wash it off.
So I know everybody's familiar with, like, you wax a car and then it's like the water kind of beads off, but the ceramic coating is the same thing, but typically lasts a lot longer. What's the difference in like the time for that?
It's basically, I mean, ceramic coating is going to be like, as far as that goes, for like the hydrophobic effect of like the water running off of there and beading.
Or just cleaning easier. Like
the self-cleaning effect. It's basically going to be like a wax or a sealant on steroids. Yeah. So it's going to be, most car waxes, they're even like the best waxes, they're only going to last, maybe a few 3-4 months at most. A sealant, some of those sealants, 6 months maybe. I mean, there's some of them that claim a year and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Most situations, it's not going to last that long on cars, depending on, unless they're like super meticulous about how they keep up on it and it's in the garage and they don't drive it that much. But then we're like the ceramic coatings, it's going to last, depending on which type of coating and level of coating you're getting, it's going to last several years.
Right.
So it's like, really, you're saving money in the sense of, that initial ceramic coating is going to be expensive, but it's like, you're not having to get it waxed 3 times a year and detailed 3 times. You know what I'm saying? Like, for several years, you can just get away with washing it, and it's going to look just like it did when you did that initial ceramic coating.
Kind of back to what we were saying, like that's like once you've seen that in effect, like after you see a car after a couple of years of doing that, like then you knew it was a clear ROI, because it's like, now it's easier, less time cleaning your car because you're just going to be able to spray it off. If you don't have time to spray it off, you can get the lowest tier, touchless, and clean your car off. The value of your car is going to stay increased. It lasts 3-4 years. So it's like once you see the clear ROI, it's like a lot of people just appreciate
we had a guy.
Numbers,
We had a guy that literally brought a high-end, brand new BMW SUV when he first got it done. Of his wife's. We did a ceramic coating on it, and she ended up. They crashed it. She crashed it, and down the road, and they ended up totaling it out. But like the value, it showed like a higher value. The paint, like they ended up reimbursing him for like money that he spent on the ceramic coating. They factored that in. Like he did.
Oh wow.
Yeah, something to do with, or another person that what was it? Yeah, it was like when they did like the rating of the overall condition of the paint, like the rest, like the one side was all messed up, but it was like the paint level quality was
brought up the value that they got
of the
in
car
insurance.
Because it was still in like the level of condition.
That makes a lot of sense.
But we've also had people that's also something too, where we've had people where they've wrecked their car or someone hit their car in a parking lot that was ceramic coated, and the insurance company actually reimburses them to get it redone and stuff like that. Yeah. So now that was something that happened to someone before. I felt terrible for her. She literally like just got the car, got it ceramic coated, and had it parked in a parking lot, like the back of the parking lot, and somebody just driving probably on their cell phone and right in front of her as they were walking up to it. It was like 2 days after she picked it up. Yeah. She got the car like the week before, and they just smashed her car.
She's parking in the back of the parking lot trying to protect it.
Yeah. Some person on their cell phone looking down because they're like walking to the car as it happened. They just ran straight into it. But yeah, that was...
My thing recently has been hitting animals. Like the car runs great. You know, I got plenty of miles still left on it, but my front end, I'll put the second I do something like put straps on it because I hit something or something fell off, I'll hit something else, and like the front bumper is like $150, and I'm wanting to do that, but I'm just so nervous. It seems like every time I touch that front bumper, I hit something.
Happens.
Hit a deer like last week.
Well, yeah, I'll say
comically
here,
hit this deer. You should have seen.
Careful with all.
It came over to the side, and I swear I looked over like seeing its head. He was upside down, like.
Any certain areas, that's something you got to worry about.
I've been out here for 14
especially
years.
Right now is when they're moving, the deer are moving around.
3 deer. I mean, even when we went up north, we went up towards like Traverse City, and I hit a deer that was like dead on the ground. I was following like a truck, and then I didn't have time to move, and then that knocked off some plastic. Then, so it's like I haven't hit a deer in 14 years, and then all of a sudden I'm like trying to hold on to this car that's paid off and like got all this miles in it, but I also don't want to drive something that looks like shit. So I'm like, if I could just keep the front end together,
avoid deer.
Yeah. So right now I'm like, before the spring, I want to put this new bumper on, but I'm like so nervous that it's gonna cause some
wait
shit
till
to jump
after
out of the
winter
woods.
time when they're typically, I think when people most deer get hit are usually in like the fall and the winter time a lot.
Well, man, I really appreciate you making the drive to come out here and be one of the first guests on the podcast.
I appreciate having me.
Like I said, when I think about business owners, people out there putting in the grind, because it is a grind. It's hard to try to run a business and juggle everything. You always come to mind. So thanks for coming out, man.
I appreciate it, bro.